The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the dark between the stars. It was bigger than most moons and served as the highest court in the galaxy. Today, something different was happening. The entire station buzzed with activity. As security teams ran back and forth through the metal corridors, Chief Justice Vexter stood in his private chamber, looking out at the stars through a large window. His crystal body reflected the light from distant suns as he read the files on his desk. These were not ordinary files. They contained information about 3 humans who would soon arrive for trial. The door opened with a soft hiss. Security Chief. Zolther walked in, his 6 legs clicking on the metal floor. His insect-like face showed worry as he approached the tall crystal being. "Your Honor," Zolther said, his voice shaking slightly. "The human transport ship will dock in 2 hours. I must ask again about the security measures." Vexter turned from the window. His crystal face had no expression, but his voice carried concern. "What do you recommend, Chief?" "Full containment, Your Honor. Energy dampeners, neural inhibitors, physical restraints. These humans are dangerous." Zolther's antenna twitched nervously as he spoke. "Dangerous?" Vexter looked down at the files. "They are only 3 beings. What could 3 small creatures do?" Zolther's compound eyes reflected fear. "Have you read what they did on Kepler 442b, Your Honor? What they did to the Zephyrian Raiders?" Vexter had read the report many times. The Zephyrian Raiders were known across the galaxy as the most brutal pirates in space. They had destroyed 12 colonies in the past year. Each time, the defenders had run away or died quickly. But not the humans. The human colony on Kepler 442b had only 300 people. Most were farmers and miners. They had no real weapons and no trained soldiers, except for 1 former military officer. When the raiders came with 50 warships, everyone expected the humans to evacuate like all the other species did. Instead, the humans fought back. In just 6 hours, the 3 human leaders had organized the entire colony. They turned farming, tools into weapons. They used mining explosives as bombs. They set traps that no one had ever seen before. When the battle ended, all 50 raider ships were captured, and every single raider was either dead or captured. Not 1 human had died. "It was luck," Vexter said, but his voice did not sound sure. "No, Your Honor, it was not luck." Zolther pulled up a hologram showing the battle. "Look at this." They fought like they had done it 1,000 times before. They moved together, like a pack of hunting animals. They never hesitated. They never showed fear. The hologram showed human colonists running through smoke and fire. They moved with purpose, following plans that seemed to come from nowhere. Children as young as 10 years old carried supplies to fighters. Old humans who could barely walk helped. Set traps. Everyone had a job. Everyone fought. The raiders had superior weapons, superior numbers, superior ships, Zolther continued. But the humans won anyway. How do we contain beings who can do this? Before Vexter could answer, another voice spoke from the doorway. "You do not contain them." Both aliens turned to see Justice Mordaunt floating into the room. The gaseous being was contained in a special suit that let him move and speak. His voice came through speakers on the suit. "Mordaunt," Vexter said, "what do you mean?" "I have been studying human history," Mordaunt replied. His gas form swirled inside the suit as he spoke. "These beings have survived things that would destroy entire species. Ice ages that lasted thousands of years. Diseases that killed most of their population. Wars that covered their entire planet. Each time, they became stronger. But they are just 1 species," Zolther said. "We have weapons that could destroy their entire planet." "Yes," Mordaunt agreed, "but that is not the point. The point is that they do not give up. Ever. They will fight until they win or until they die. There is no middle ground with humans. The third judge arrived then. Justice Criolla walked in on her 4 legs, her multiple arms carrying data tablets. Her insect-like face was focused on the information she was reading. "I have been reviewing the prosecution's evidence," she said without looking up. "The charges are excessive force and violation of galactic peace protocols, but there is a problem." "What? Problem?" Vexter asked. "The humans did not actually break any laws," Kriala said. "They defended their colony within all established parameters. They did not attack first. They did not harm non-combatants. They followed every rule in the Galactic Code. But the methods they used," Zalther protested. "No civilized species fights like that." "That is the problem," Kriala said finally, looking up from her tablets. "The humans do not think like us. When we face a superior enemy, we surrender or run away. It is logical. It preserves life. But humans see a superior enemy as a challenge to overcome." The 4 beings stood in silence. For a moment. Outside the window, transport ships moved between the docking bays of the massive station. Soon, one of those ships would carry 3 humans who had done the impossible. "There is something else," Mordan said quietly. "The human ambassador is already here. She refuses all security measures for her people. She says it would violate their rights under galactic law." "She refuses?" Zalther's antenna twitched faster. "Does she not understand how dangerous this is?" "I think she understands perfectly," Vexter said. "And I think that is what scares me most." A communication device beeped. Zalther activated it with one of his claws. A voice spoke through the device. "Security Chief, the human transport has docked. The defendants are ready for transfer." Zalther looked at the 3 judges. "Your orders?" Vexter thought for a long moment. The crystal. Planes of his face caught the light as he considered their options. Finally, he spoke. "Bring them to the courtroom. Full security escort, but no restraints. Station a full battalion of armored guards around the courtroom. Make sure all energy weapons are charged and ready." "Yes, Your Honor," Zalther said. He turned to leave, then stopped. "Your Honor, what if the security measures are not enough?" Vexter looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there was a small blue planet called Earth. On that planet lived billions of beings like the 3 who would soon stand trial. "Then we pray to whatever gods we believe in," Vexter said quietly, "that we never give them a reason to show us what they can really do." As Zalther left to prepare for the arrival, the 3 judges stood in uncomfortable silence. Each of them had presided over thousands of trials. They had judged the worst criminals in the galaxy, but none of them had ever felt afraid before. Today, they were about to meet 3 humans who had changed the course of galactic history in a single afternoon. And somehow, that terrified them more than any criminal ever had. The courtroom of Nexus Prime had never seen anything like this before. 300 armored guards stood at attention around the massive chamber. Their weapons hummed with energy as they watched the center of the room. Energy barriers glowed, blue around the defendant area, creating layers of protection between the judges and the accused. The doors opened with a heavy sound. Ambassador Helen Cross walked in first. She was a middle-aged human woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She wore simple clothes and carried no weapons. Behind her came the 3 defendants. Jake Morrison walked with the steady pace of a soldier. He was tall and had short brown hair. His eyes moved around the room, taking in every detail. He nodded politely to the guards as he passed them. Dr. Lisa Brooks followed him. She was shorter than Jake, with long black hair tied back. She carried a small bag with her research materials. Her face showed no fear, only curiosity as she looked at the alien technology around them. Carl Davis came last. He was a big man with work-worn hands and a friendly face. He smiled at some of the guards and even waved at one who seemed particularly nervous. The guard jumped back and raised his weapon before remembering where he was. The three humans took their seats in the defendant area. The energy barriers activated around them, but they seemed not to notice. Jake looked around the courtroom with interest. Lisa pulled out a small device and began taking notes. Carl stretched in his chair and yawned. Chief Justice Vexter stood up. His crystal body caught the light from the courtroom's ceiling. This court is now in session. We are here to judge the case of the Galactic Federation versus Morrison, Brooks, and Davis. The prosecutor rose from his table. Advocate Thinder was a tall, thin being with pale blue skin. His voice was sharp as he spoke. Your Honors, we are here today because these three humans violated every principle of civilized warfare. They used excessive force against the Zephyrian raiders and showed no mercy to defeated enemies. A large holographic display appeared in the center of the courtroom. It showed the colony on Kepler 442b from space. The planet looked peaceful with its blue oceans and green continents. This was a simple farming colony, Finder continued. 300 innocent people trying to build a new life. When the Zephyrian raiders arrived, these people should have evacuated like every other civilized species does when faced with superior force. The hologram changed to show the raider fleet approaching. 50 large warships moved toward the planet like hungry predators. The size difference was clear. The raiders had enough firepower to destroy the entire planet. Instead, Thinder said, his voice growing louder, these three humans convinced the colonists to fight. They turned a peaceful farming community into a war machine in just hours. The hologram now showed the surface of the planet. Humans ran between buildings, carrying strange devices. Farming equipment moved in organized patterns. Children helped adults dig holes and set up barriers. Look. At this, Thinder pointed at the display. They turned crop harvesters into weapons. They used fertilizer to make explosives. They converted irrigation systems into delivery methods for chemical weapons. Several of the guards shifted nervously as they watched the humans work. The three defendants continued to sit calmly. Jake was still looking around the courtroom. Lisa was writing in her notes. Carl had closed his eyes and seemed to be resting. The raiders landed here, Finder said, as the hologram showed raider ships touching down. They expected an easy victory. What they found was something no civilized being could imagine. The display showed the first contact between the raiders and the humans. The raiders came out of their ships confident and ready for a quick surrender. Instead, they walked into carefully planned traps. The humans had predicted exactly where the raiders would land, Finder said. They had prepared ambush sites at every landing zone. They used tactics that no military academy in the galaxy teaches. The hologram showed raider troops falling into hidden pits filled with sharp farming tools. It showed human colonists appearing from underground tunnels to attack from behind. It showed explosions that destroyed entire raider squadrons. The most disturbing part, Finder continued, is how efficiently they worked. No wasted movement, no panic, no mercy. They fought like a machine designed for one purpose, to kill their enemies. Justice Mordoon leaned forward in his floating chair. Advocate Finder, did the humans harm any non-combatants? Well, no, Your Honor, but that is not the point. Did they attack the raiders first? No, Your Honor, but did they continue fighting after the raiders surrendered? Finder paused. No, Your Honor. They stopped fighting immediately when surrender was offered. Then what law did they break? Justice Kriala asked from her position at the judge's bench. They used excessive force, Your Honor. The response was disproportionate to the threat. In the defendant area, Jake Morrison stood up. May I speak, Your Honor? The guards around the room tensed. Weapons moved slightly toward the human. Jake noticed this and raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "You may speak," Vexter said carefully. Jake's voice was calm and clear. "Your Honor, we were defending our homes and our families. The raiders came to kill us and take everything we had built. We did what any human would do. We protected what was ours." "But surely," Finder interrupted, "you could have negotiated. You could have offered them some of your resources in exchange for peace." Jake looked at the prosecutor with surprise. "Sir, they had just destroyed 12 other colonies. They killed everyone on those worlds. There was nothing to negotiate." Dr. Lisa Brooks stood up next. "May I add something, Your Honor?" "You may speak," Vexter said. Lisa's voice was professional, like a teacher explaining a lesson. "Your Honor, I am a scientist who studies different species. Humans evolved differently than most galactic races. We are persistence hunters. We evolved to face threats that were bigger and stronger than us." She gestured to the hologram, which still showed scenes from the battle. "What you call excessive force, we call survival. When a human is threatened, we do not run or surrender. We adapt, we overcome, we win. But at what cost?" Finder demanded, "Look at what you did to those raiders." Carl Davis spoke for the first time. His voice was deep and friendly. "Sir, those raiders chose to attack innocent people. They chose to come to our world with weapons. We just chose to fight back better than they expected." The courtroom fell silent. The 3 humans sat back down, still calm and relaxed. Around them, the guards looked more nervous than before. Something about the way the humans spoke made them seem more dangerous, not less. Justice Vexter looked at his fellow judges. They had presided over thousands of cases, but nothing like this. These humans had followed every law and rule, yet somehow they had terrified an entire galaxy. "The court will hear the defense," Vexter announced. "But first, we will take a recess." As the judges left the courtroom, Security Chief Zolther approached the defendant area. "More guards," he whispered into his communication device. "We need more guards." The 3 humans continued to sit quietly, unaware that they had just made themselves the most feared beings in the galaxy. The courtroom filled up again after the recess. More guards had arrived during the break. The number had doubled from 300 to 600. They stood in perfect lines around the chamber, their weapons ready. Some of the newer guards looked confused about why so many were needed for just 3 defendants. "Ambassador." Helen Cross stood up as the judges returned to their seats. She walked to the center of the courtroom with a calm smile. In her hands, she carried a simple datapad. "Your Honors," she said, her voice clear and steady. "The prosecution has shown you what happened on Kepler 442b. Now I would like to show you why it happened." A new holographic display appeared. This one showed a different planet. The surface was covered with the remains of buildings and the bodies of thousands of beings. "This is Vega Colony," Helen said. "The Zephyrian raiders attacked it 6 months ago. When the colonists saw the raider ships coming, they followed galactic protocol. They sent a surrender message immediately." The hologram showed the colonists gathering in large groups with their hands raised. They had white flags and surrender symbols. Children hid behind their parents as the raider ships landed. "The raiders accepted their surrender," Helen continued. "Then they killed everyone anyway. Every man, woman, and child. 3,000 beings died that day." The courtroom was silent. Several guards shifted uncomfortably as they watched the display. "This is Beta Station," Helen said as the hologram changed. "Same thing happened here. Immediate surrender. Everyone killed. This is Titan's Rest. Same story. And here is New Geneva. And here is Port Hope." The display showed colony after colony. Each one showed the same pattern. surrender, then death. The numbers appeared beside each image. 3,000 dead here, 5,000 there, 8,000 at another location. In total, Helen said, the Zephyrian raiders have killed 47,000 innocent beings in the past year. Every single colony followed galactic protocol. Every single colony surrendered immediately. Every single colony was destroyed anyway. Justice Mordoun floated forward in his chair. Ambassador Cross, we understand the raiders were criminals. But that does not justify the methods your people used. Helen looked directly at the gaseous judge. Your Honor, what would you have us do? Watch our children die? Stand by while our homes burned? You could have evacuated, Prosecutor Thinder said from his table. Every other species evacuates when faced with superior force. To where? Helen asked. The raiders were faster than our ships. They would have caught us in space. At least on the planet, we had places to hide and defend. Ourselves. She turned back to the judges. Your Honors, humans do not abandon their families. We do not leave our homes without a fight. This is not cruelty or barbarism. This is who we are. Jake Morrison stood up in the defendant area. May I explain our tactics, Your Honor? Vexter nodded slowly. Jake walked to the center of the courtroom. The guards tensed, but he moved slowly and kept his hands visible. Your Honor, I was a soldier before I became a colonist. When I saw the raider ships coming, I knew we had maybe 4 hours to prepare. A new hologram appeared, showing the human colony from above. We had no military weapons, no trained soldiers except me. But we had something else. We had 300 people who wanted to live. The display showed the colony's layout. Carl here, Jake pointed to his fellow defendant. He knew every piece of equipment on the planet. Lisa knew the local geography and climate. I knew basic military tactics. In 4 hours, Jake continued, we turned a farming colony into a fortress. Not because we wanted to hurt anyone, but because we wanted to protect everyone. The hologram showed humans working with incredible speed and coordination. The crop harvesters became mobile weapons platforms. The irrigation pumps became delivery systems. The fertilizer storage became an ammunition depot. Carl Davis stood up next. Your Honor, may I explain the technical aspects? You may speak, Kriala said. Carl's voice was simple and direct. Your Honor, humans are good at fixing things. When something breaks, we figure out how to make it work again. When we need something we do not have, we build it from what we do have. He gestured to the hologram. We did not have weapons, so we made weapons. We did not have armor, so we made armor. We did not have a defense system, so we built one. This is what humans do. We solve problems. But the efficiency, Thinder protested. No one learns to fight like that in 4 hours. Dr. Lisa Brooks stood up. Actually, we do, she said calmly. May I explain human psychology, Your Honor? Vexter nodded. Lisa walked to stand beside Jake and Carl. Your Honors, humans evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. Ice ages, diseases, predators, natural disasters. For millions of years, humans who could not adapt quickly died. Only the ones who could learn and change survived. She pointed to the hologram showing the human preparations. What you see here is not special training. This is normal human behavior when threatened. We assess the situation, identify resources, create solutions, and execute plans. We do this automatically. In our history, Lisa continued, humans have survived asteroid impacts, ice ages that lasted thousands of years, plagues that killed most of our population, and wars that covered entire continents. Each time we adapted. Each time we became stronger. Justice Mordoun's gas form swirled nervously in his suit. Dr. Brooks, Are you saying all humans can do what you three did? Lisa looked surprised by the question. Yes, Your Honor. Any human community would have responded the same way. This is basic survival behavior for our species. The courtroom became very quiet. 600 guards looked at three humans who had just claimed that their incredible victory was normal. Around the galaxy, billions more humans lived and worked and raised families. Ambassador Helen Cross spoke again. Your Honors, my people did not choose to be warriors. War chose them. When faced with extinction, they did what humans always do. They fought back. They won. They protected their families. She looked at each judge in turn. The prosecution says we used excessive force. I say we used exactly the right amount of force to save every life on that planet. Not one colonist died. Not one child was harmed. We did what we set out to do. We protected our people. Security Chief Zolther moved closer to the judge's bench. His 6 legs clicked nervously on the floor. Your Honors, he whispered, request permission to add more security measures. What kind of measures? Vexter asked quietly. Energy dampeners. Neural inhibitors. Full containment protocols. Ambassador Helen Cross heard this. Your Honors, such measures would violate galactic law. My people have the right to a fair trial without unlawful restraint. But the security risk, Zolther protested. Helen looked at the security chief with calm eyes. Chief Zolther, my people are sitting quietly in their chairs. They have followed every instruction. They have shown no aggression to anyone in this room. What exactly are you afraid of? Zolther's antenna twitched rapidly. I am afraid, he said honestly, of what they might do if they decide this trial is unfair. The 3 human defendants looked at each other and smiled. It was just a normal smile between friends, but somehow it made every guard in the room check their weapons. Your Honors, Helen said, I rest my case. My people defended their homes and families according to galactic law. They harmed no innocents and stopped fighting when their enemies surrendered. They are not criminals. They are survivors. The judges looked at the 3 humans sitting peacefully in the defendant area. Jake was reading something on a datapad. Lisa was taking notes about the alien technology around her. Carl was examining the energy barrier with professional interest. They looked like ordinary people. But now the entire courtroom knew they were something else entirely. They were humans. And that changed everything. The judges retired to their private chamber to discuss the verdict. The courtroom remained full of guards and spectators, all watching the 3 humans who sat quietly in the defendant area. Jake Morrison was reading a book about alien farming techniques. Dr. Lisa Brooks was sketching the courtroom's architecture in her notebook. Carl Davis had fallen asleep in his chair and was snoring softly. In the judge's chamber. Chief Justice Vexter paced back and forth. His crystal body caught the light as he moved, creating rainbow patterns on the walls. We have a problem, he said to the other judges. A very big problem. Justice Mordun floated near the window, his gas form swirling anxiously inside his containment suit. The humans broke no laws. Their actions were completely within galactic legal parameters. Justice Kriala sat at the conference table, her forearms spread across multiple data tablets. Every piece of evidence supports their innocence. They defended their colony. They protected civilians. They stopped fighting when enemies surrendered. They followed every rule. But that is not the real issue, Vexter said, stopping his pacing. The real issue is what this means for the galaxy. What do you mean? Mordun asked. Vexter activated a holographic display showing star charts. There are 8 billion humans on Earth, millions more on colonies throughout human space. If 3 humans with farming equipment can defeat 50 warships, what could their actual military do? The room fell silent as the judges considered this question. "We have been making a mistake," Kriala said slowly. "We have been treating humans like any other species, but they are not like us. They are predators, not just predators," Mordan added. "Intelligent predators who work together. Every other predator species in the galaxy hunts alone. Humans hunt in packs." Vexter brought up files about human history. "I have been reading about their wars. They have been fighting each other for thousands of years. They have weapons that can destroy planets. They have strategies that involve sacrificing millions of their own people to win. And yet," Kriala observed, "they choose not to use these weapons against us. They follow our laws. They trade peacefully. They even help other species in disasters, which makes them more dangerous, not less," Mordan said. "A mindless predator you can predict. But these humans choose when to be peaceful and when to fight. That choice makes them unpredictable." A communication device beeped. Vexter activated it. "Your Honor," came the voice of Security Chief Zolther. "We have a situation. Some of the guards are requesting reassignment. They say the humans make them nervous." "How many guards?" Vexter asked. 200, Your Honor. They say being near the humans feels unnatural, like being watched by hunting animals." Vexter looked at his fellow judges. "You see? Even our trained security forces feel it. There is something about humans that triggers ancient prey instincts in other species." "We cannot delay the verdict much longer," Kriala said. "The galaxy is watching this trial. What are our options?" Mordan asked. Vexter counted on his crystal fingers. "We can find them guilty and risk angering humanity. We can find them innocent and set a precedent that terrifies every other species. Or we can try to find a middle ground." "What kind of middle ground?" Kriala asked. "We find them technically innocent, but issue warnings and restrictions," Vexter said. "We acknowledge they broke no laws while making it clear that such tactics concern the galactic community." The judges spent another hour discussing details. Finally, they returned to the courtroom. The three humans looked up as the judges entered. Jake closed his book and put it away. Lisa finished her sketch and capped her pen. Carl woke up, stretched, and smiled at the nearest guard, who jumped backward. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" Ambassador Helen Cross asked, standing up. "We have," Chief Justice Vexter announced. His voice carried through the silent courtroom. "In the matter of the Galactic Federation versus Morrison, Brooks, and Davis, we find the defendants not guilty of all charges." A murmur went through the courtroom. The three humans smiled and shook hands with each other. However, Vexter continued, raising his voice. "This court feels compelled to issue a formal statement regarding the methods used in the defense of Kepler 442b. The courtroom became quiet again. While the defendants broke no laws, their tactics represent a level of warfare efficiency that concerns the galactic community. Therefore, this court recommends that all future diplomatic contacts with humanity include appropriate security protocols." Jake Morrison stood up. "Your Honor, may I say something?" "You may speak." Jake's voice was calm and respectful. "Your Honor, we understand your concerns, but I want to make something clear. We are not sorry for protecting our people. If anyone threatens human colonies again, we will defend them again. That is what humans do." The simple statement sent a chill through the courtroom. It was not a threat. It was just a fact, stated as clearly as someone might mention the weather, Dr. Lisa. Brooks stood up next. "Your Honor, humans do not seek conflict. We prefer peace. But we will not run away from danger, and we will not abandon our families. This is our nature." Carl Davis stood up last. "Your Honor, we just want to go home and take care of our farms. But if someone comes to hurt our neighbors, we will help them too. That is what neighbors do." Ambassador Helen Cross walked to the center of the courtroom. Your Honors, humanity thanks you for a fair trial. We hope this helps other species understand us better. We are not conquerors or warriors. We are protectors. We protect what we love. She paused and looked around the courtroom at the hundreds of armed guards. And we love a lot of things. Chief Justice Vexter nodded slowly. The defendants are free to go. This court is adjourned. As the judges left the courtroom, Security Chief Zalthar approached them. Your Honor, what are the security protocols for their departure? Full escort, Vexter said. Maximum security until they leave the station. How many guards, Your Honor? Vexter looked back at the 3 humans who were gathering their belongings and talking quietly with their ambassador. They looked like ordinary people preparing to go home after a long day. All of them, he said, use every guard on the station. As the humans walked out of the courtroom, 600 armed guards surrounded them. The humans seemed not to notice. They talked about farming and weather and what they would have for dinner when they got home. Behind them, the judges watched from their chamber window. Are we doing the right thing? Mordun asked. I do not know, Vexter admitted. But I know. We cannot afford to do the wrong thing. Justice Kriala was making notes in an official file. What are you writing? Vexter asked. A recommendation for the Galactic Council, she said. Humanity is to be treated as a protected species. Protected? Mordun was confused. They just proved they can protect themselves. No, Kriala said, looking up from her writing. Protected from us. We need to make sure no one in the galaxy ever gives them a reason to do more than defend. Single colonies. As the human ship departed from Nexus Prime, the judges watched it disappear into space. Somewhere out there was Earth, home to 8 billion more humans, just like the 3 they had met. Chief Justice Vexter made a private note in his personal files. Recommendation approved. Maintain peaceful relations with humanity at all costs. They are not enemies to defeat. They are neighbors to respect. The trial was over, but its effects would last forever. Across the galaxy, species that had never heard of humans before now knew one important fact. Humans protect their families. And that made them the most dangerous and most valuable allies anyone could have. The 3 farmers went home to tend their crops, unaware that they had just changed the fate of every species in the galaxy.